What if the greatest love of your life was the one you were never supposed to choose? Dry Creek, years later. The wind smelled like smoke and rain. It always did when she remembered him. Sage Calloway stood at the edge of her family's land, boots in red dirt, hands calloused, and still wearing the gold bracelet her mother once said belonged to good girls. The sky above cracked open with thunder, just the way it had the night he kissed her behind the grain silo and told her she could burn down the whole damn world if she wanted to. She never did, but part of her wished she had. They said time heals, but they never said what it does to memories. A dusty engine roared somewhere in the distance. Old, sputtering, familiar. And just like that, her heart betrayed her. She turned. But it wasn't him. It never was. Dry Creek, 5 months earlier. Hollow's bar was half lit and half empty. The jukebox crooned a Patsy Cline song like a prayer turned poison. The kind of place where cowboys drank their sins and pretended God wasn't watching. Sage Calloway walked in with her cousin Clara, heels clicking like gunfire. She didn't come for trouble. She came to breathe. Even that felt rebellious lately. That's when she saw him, leaning against the jukebox like he owned the dust and the dark. Black denim. Tattoo peeking out from under the rolled sleeve of a faded shirt. Eyes like gunmetal. Jaw like scripture. And a look on his face that said he'd seen the worst of the world, and didn't flinch. "Who's that?" Clara asked, already halfway to swooning. Sage's heart answered before her lips did. West Adler. It was a name folks whispered around here. Like a curse. Like a ghost. He'd left town 7 years ago after a barn fire, a sheriff's inquiry, and a feud between his family and hers so bitter it scorched the church pews. The Adlers lost everything. Some said her daddy had a hand in it. Others said West lit the match himself. Now he was back, and he looked like he didn't give a damn who remembered. She didn't mean to walk toward him, but she did. He looked up when she neared, like he'd felt her coming before he saw her. His gaze pinned her to the earth. "Sage Calloway," he said, voice slow and rough like whiskey over ice. "You remember me," she replied, lips glossed in cherry sin. Hard to forget a girl who set fire to the 4th of July with just a smile. She should have walked away then. She didn't. They talked until Clara got bored and left. Until the bartender lit the last call sign with a flick of his cigarette. Until Wes leaned in, just close enough to make her dizzy. "You still good?" he asked, voice low. "I'm still polite," she answered. "That ain't always the same thing." He smiled, slow and dangerous. "Didn't figure you for polite." And just like that, the spark caught. The next day, the rumors started like prairie wind. Saw Sage Calloway talkin' to West Adler at Hollows. He's the one whose daddy torched the Calloway fence line back in '29. Her daddy's gonna lose his mind. He did. Mayor Boone Calloway stormed into the dining room with a whiskey bottle in one hand and the morning paper in the other. "You been seen with that Adler boy?" he snapped, barely waiting for her to sit. Sage didn't flinch. "He's not a boy anymore. Don't be smart with me." His voice was a thunderclap. "You're to marry Cole Braxton. You think this is a damn romance novel? That boy's a walking scandal with a record and a broken-down car. And his family's dirt. Murderers, thieves." Sage stared him down. "And yours is holy?" Her mother gasped softly. Boone's face turned crimson. "You'll stop seeing him, or I'll send him back where he came from, in chains if I have to." Sage stood. Her chair scraped the hardwood like a gun draw. "You can build a church out of lies, Daddy, but I ain't kneelin'." She stormed out, boots stomping thunder into the floorboards. Her heart roared, and somewhere in the desert that night, a '67 Mustang lit its headlights. Somewhere past the county line, under a mess of stars. The Mustang's windows fogged with breath and tension. The vinyl seats squeaked beneath them, and the night outside felt like it was holding its breath. Sage straddled West in the back seat, her hands on either side of his face, the hem of her church dress hiked indecently high. Her lipstick was smudged, her voice raw from whispering his name like a prayer and a curse. "You shouldn't have come back," she breathed. "You shouldn't have climbed in my car," he growled back. And then they kissed like it was war. The ride-out had been silent, tension thick as molasses, heavy with the heat of everything they couldn't say in public. She'd shown up at the edge of the junkyard where he worked, boots and dust, fire in her eyes. "You told me to stay away," she'd said. "And you came anyway," he'd replied. "I'm tired of being the mayor's daughter. Tired of curtsies and casseroles and pretendin' I don't want you like hell." He'd blinked once, then grabbed the keys. And now, with the stars watching like guilty voyeurs, they were tangled in a backseat confession. "You want to ruin me, don't you?" she whispered against his neck, voice trembling. "Don't need to. You came ruined." She gasped and shoved at him. "You're such a bastard." He caught her wrist midair, held it gently but firmly. "And you're a goddamn wildfire." Their eyes met. Neither of them blinked. "I don't want safe," she said. "I ain't got safe to give." "Then give me you." Silence. Then he pulled her to him again like he was drowning and she was air. Later, when the adrenaline dulled and the moon hung lower, she lay across his chest, her fingers tracing the bullet scar just under his ribs. "Who did that?" she asked. "Your daddy's deputy," he answered, casual. She froze. "What?" "2 years ago. Border town brawl. Said I was smuggling horses. I wasn't. But they made sure the Adler name stayed dirty." She sat up. "He sent them after you?" "I don't know who gave the order. But he made sure no one asked questions." Sage stared into the dark, rage curling behind her eyes. "He's gonna kill you if he finds out we're doing this." West lit a cigarette. Took a long drag. "Then we better make it worth it." The next week was a fever dream. Kisses stolen in the church bell tower. Late-night swims in the quarry behind Milligan's ranch. Whiskey sipped from the same bottle behind the feed store. And always, always the Mustang. The only place that felt like theirs. But Dry Creek had ears. One night, after a particularly reckless midnight tryst behind the grain mill, Wes's knuckles were bloodied, and Sage's braid was undone. She giggled, stealing one last kiss before slipping off into the shadows. He watched her go, a smirk tugging his lips. That smirk vanished the moment Cole Braxton stepped out from behind the shed. "Mayor's girl?" Cole asked coldly, eyes locked on West. West wiped his mouth. "That a question or a threat?" Cole didn't flinch. "You think you're gonna crawl back into this town and steal what's mine?" "She ain't yours, cowboy." "You're poison, Adler. Always were." West stepped forward, lip curling. "Funny. She told me I was the only thing that's ever felt real." Then came the punch. And the blood. And the promise. "You're a dead man, Adler." There's 2 kinds of justice in Dry Creek, Callaway justice and the kind that gets buried. It started with a black eye. Wes showed up at the old gas station the next morning with his face bruised, knuckles split open, and his jaw set like stone. Doc Mathers tried to patch him up, but all Wes said was, "It's just beginning." And it was. By sunset, the whole town was buzzing. Someone had seen them, Sage Callaway, golden girl of Dry Creek, wrapped around West Adler behind the mill, like a sin in full bloom. By nightfall, the mayor's house was under siege from scandal. Reporters from the Dry Creek Ledger loitered outside the gates. Gossip flew faster than bullets in a saloon shootout. And then the hammer dropped. At the Callaway Ranch. The mayor slammed his fist down hard enough to shake the table. "You've embarrassed this family. You've ruined yourself over a no-good Adler boy with dirt under his nails and a criminal record longer than the river." Sage didn't flinch. Her braid was messy, lip-bitten raw, but her voice was calm. "He's not what you think." "I know exactly what he is," Mayor Callaway growled, eyes narrowing. "He's the son of the man who tried to destroy my career. He's trash." Her mother sobbed quietly in the corner, whispering prayers under her breath like the rosary could cleanse her daughter's desire. "I won't stop seeing him," Sage said. "You can lock me in this house, but it won't matter. I'll find him." Her father's voice dropped to a low, dangerous rasp. "You're forbidden from seeing West Adler. If I so much as catch a whiff of him near you, I'll bury him so deep even the coyotes won't find what's left." Across town, the Adler farmhouse. Wes sat across from his mother, arms folded, eyes stormy. "You sure about this?" she asked, setting down the whiskey. "This ain't just a fling, is it?" Wes leaned back, jaw clenched. "It was never a fling. It's her." His mother, Lucille Adler, nodded slowly. "Then you need to know the truth." "What truth?" She exhaled, voice shaky. "Your daddy didn't leave us, West. He was killed. Shot dead behind the train depot. It was covered up. No charges filed. Witnesses vanished." West froze. She looked up at him, tears in her eyes. "Your daddy was meeting with someone. A man in a gray suit. Said he was making peace with the Callaways." "Are you saying?" "I'm saying your father died trying to end a war. And I don't think the Callaways ever wanted peace." Wes stood up so fast the chair scraped against the floor. His fists clenched. "Then I'll finish what he started." Midnight, Hollow's bar. Sage snuck out, boots in hand, hair wild in the moonlight. She met West behind the bar, and the moment they saw each other, it was like a match to gasoline. "You're hurt," she whispered, touching his face. "You're worth it," he replied. They kissed like they didn't know if they'd ever get another chance. And maybe they wouldn't, because from across the street, someone watched. Cole Braxton. And he wasn't alone. The next day, public square. Mayor Calloway stood at a podium, flanked by deputies. Effective immediately, West Adler is to be removed from Dry Creek. He's a threat to our community, to our daughters, and to the peace of this town. West stood in the crowd, defiant, eyes locked on Sage in the distance. She stood just inside the church gate, white dress flapping in the wind, tears in her eyes. They saw each other. And then came the gunshot. Chaos erupted. Screams. People ducking. Horses panicking. West hit the dirt, tackled by a deputy. Blood pooled under his jacket. Sage screamed. "West." Later, jail cell. West, bloody and broken, leaned against the bars, breathing shallow. Sage snuck in through the back, a bruise on her cheek from her father's slap. "You can't stay here," she whispered, unlocking the cell. "They'll kill you."
"Let him try."
"I'll go with you," she said. "We'll run." He shook his head. "You still don't get it, do you? This isn't about us anymore. This is about blood."
"Mine."
"Yours. Our fathers. This town wants a war." "Then let's burn it down," she said, voice fierce. He looked at her like he was seeing a miracle. Then he kissed her like it was the last time. There's something holy about the way they burn. They left under the cover of thunder, Sage in her riding dress, West with blood still drying on his shirt. 2 horses, stolen from the Calloway stables, galloped like devils through the canyon pass. Behind them, every deputy in Dry Creek had orders to shoot on sight. Sage didn't look back. She gripped the reins and shouted over the wind. "You still with me?" West turned his head, that crooked grin bleeding through the pain. "Ain't nothing could make me let go now." They rode until the red sun dipped beneath the hills, then disappeared into the Badlands, dry, cruel country where coyote howls were lullabies and nothing green ever stayed alive. It was the perfect place to hide.
Or die.
In an abandoned trapper's cabin with creaking floorboards and whiskey in the rafters, Sage and West made love like it was a rebellion. Every kiss was a gunshot. Every whisper, a defiance. "I don't care what they say about you," she said, fingers tangled in his hair. "I don't care about the blood, the badge, the name Adler." He traced the curve of her jaw, voice low and gravel soft. "Then you better hold tight, darlin', because this road don't end pretty." "I didn't fall in love for pretty," she said. "I fell in love for true." Cole Braxton paced the mayor's study, hat in hand, smile slicker than oil. "I warned you," he drawled. "You let her dance with the devil, and now she's gone. With him." Mayor Calloway poured bourbon, hands shaking. "You told me you could handle Adler."
Cole leaned in.
"I still can, but it'll cost." "You want money?" "I want her hand," Cole said, voice cold. "You promise me, Sage. And I always collect on promises." The mayor stared at him, eyes narrowing. "And what if she comes back?" "She won't," Cole said. Because I plan to make sure she never has the chance. Meanwhile, in the depths of the Adler farmhouse, Lucille Adler unearthed something she hadn't touched in years, a rusted tin box buried under floorboards. Inside it, a torn photo, a wedding band, and a ledger. Handwritten notes. Names.
Payouts. Bribes.
At the top, J. Calloway. She stared at the date. The night West's father died. Lucille's lips tightened. Time for the truth to come home. She saddled her horse, ledger tucked under her cloak, and rode toward the only man who ever stood up to the Calloways, Sheriff Eli Briggs, a drunk with a badge and a conscience rusted from disuse. News spread fast. West and Sage had been spotted near Rust Hollow. The posse assembled. Cole Braxton led them. Shotguns. Torches. Ropes. They rode into the dark like they were hunting ghosts. Sage woke to the smell of smoke. She jolted upright, heart hammering. West. He was already on his feet, rifle loaded. They found us. Outside, voices yelled.
Guns hotsram.
The cabin shook. Give us the girl, Adler. Cole shouted. You come out now, and maybe we won't string you up from a mesquite tree. Sage grabbed West's hand. We run. We fight. We survive. They kicked open the back door, slipping into the trees as bullets cracked through the walls. West was hit shoulder but kept moving. Sage held him up, blood soaking her sleeve. And through the smoke and screams, they disappeared. Meanwhile, sheriff's office. Lucille slammed the ledger on the sheriff's desk. Sheriff Briggs stared. Is this what I think it is? It's proof your mayor's a liar and a murderer, Lucille said. You want to save this town. You best do it now. He looked her dead in the eye. I'm too old for redemption. You're not too old for justice, she said. And that was enough. The next morning, the posse found the cabin burned to ash. But no bodies. Just a message scorched into the barn wall. She chose me. Back in Dry Creek. Mayor Calloway stood on the courthouse steps, ready to give a statement to the press. Before he could open his mouth, Sheriff Briggs rode up, ledger in hand, voice like thunder. This town's been fed lies for 20 years. But the truth always finds daylight.
Gasps.
Murmurs. Cole Braxton tried to run. Didn't make it past the steps. Lucille pulled the trigger herself. When the world turns against you, all you can do is ride faster. West's shoulder bled through 3 layers of cloth, but he didn't flinch. Not when Sage was looking. They rode south, past Dust Rock and Widow's Bluff, where the land turned cruel and the stars hung low enough to scrape your prayers. Sage tried not to cry when she changed his bandages by firelight. You're burning up, she whispered, wiping sweat from his brow. I've had worse, West muttered, teeth clenched. Got stabbed once over a game of cards. Fool tried to cheat me with a joker up his sleeve. Sage blinked. Did you win? He gave her a lazy grin. I always do. But in the dark, when she thought he was asleep, she prayed. Not the kind of pretty prayers she used to say in Sunday school. These were the kind whispered into the dirt, full of blood and fear and love too big for her chest. The ledger went public. Half the town called the Calloways crooks. The other half called Lucille Adler a liar. Mayor Calloway went silent, locked behind polished doors and armed guards. Sheriff Briggs patrolled like a ghost in the daylight, unsure who the law even belonged to anymore. And Cole Braxton? Missing. Rumors said he was riding south, with a shotgun, and Sage's wedding ring still in his coat pocket. West and Sage reached the edge of the Rio Lobo. The water was low. The crossing would be dangerous. But waiting on the other side, San Gabriel, a no-man's land full of lost names, old debts, and a man West once called brother. Jesse Adler. A grifter. A gunslinger. A traitor. I thought he was dead, Sage said as they camped by the riverbank. He was, West replied. Until he wasn't. You trust him? West looked her dead in the eyes. I trust you. Jesse met them in the ruins of a chapel, doves flitting through broken beams. He looked like West if West had drowned in sin and come back smirking. Well, Jesse drawled. Little brother shows up with a preacher's daughter and a price on his head. Romance or suicide? West stood still. We need safe passage. No questions. Jesse laughed. Everything's a question, West. Especially when you're carrying the Calloway girl. I'm not carrying her, West growled.
No.
Jesse stepped closer, eyes flicking to Sage. Then what happens when she realizes she's more outlaw than Angel now? Maybe I already have, Sage said, chin high. Jesse whistled low.
Damn.
You do pick M. Wild. That night, while Wes slept fitfully, Jesse slipped Sage a flask and a story. You ever wonder how my daddy died? He asked, voice thick with heat and venom. I thought. Mayor Calloway didn't just take his land. He took his life. Sage's breath caught. But here's the twist, Jesse whispered, leaning close. Your mama knew. She was there. Silence. You're lying, she hissed. He shrugged. Believe what you want. But ask yourself why she cries every time your daddy raises his voice. Sage stood, fists shaking. Why are you telling me this? Jesse smiled. Because when a house burns down, I like to know who lit the first match. By morning, the camp was quiet. Too quiet. Wes stepped out of the tent and into a ring of rifles. Cole Braxton stood at the center,
Smirking.
dust on his boots, a black eye blooming from Lucille's bullet. Howdy, Adler, Cole said. Heard you and my fiancé been playing house. Sage appeared behind him, pistol cocked. I'm not your anything, Cole. He didn't flinch. That's so? Then why's your name still on every welcome sign in Dry Creek? Wes stepped between them. Let her go. You don't make demands, Adler. You just bleed.
He fired.
Wes dropped to one knee. Sage screamed and fired back. The fight was fast, ugly, biblical. Jesse took a bullet to the gut trying to run. West, bleeding, still managed to shoot 2 men dead. Sage, with tears on her cheeks and smoke in her lungs, stood over Cole's body when it was done. He choked on blood, reaching for her. I would have given you everything, he gasped. I wanted nothing from you, she said. Then pulled the trigger. They buried Jesse by the river. Wes said nothing. Just placed a bullet casing on the grave and tipped his hat. Then they rode. Back to Dry Creek. Back to the truth. Because they weren't running anymore. They were coming home. And home was going to pay what it owed. You can bury the truth in a field of lies, but sooner or later, something's gonna bloom. West and Sage rode into town just after high noon. People froze in the streets. Shopkeepers ducked behind counters. Even the church bell stopped ringing, like it knew judgment had arrived. Sage wore her mother's old riding coat. West bled through his shirt, but his eyes? Cold steel. They weren't lovers in hiding anymore. They were storm clouds with a pulse. Mayor Calloway was already waiting, flanked by hired guns and trembling politicians. His wife stood beside him, veil over her face. Sage dismounted slowly, hands raised. I'm not here to run, she said. I'm here to speak. Her father's voice cracked like a whip. Then say your piece and leave. You're not welcome here. Wes stepped forward. Neither are thieves. He tossed the ledger on the ground. Pages fluttered like broken wings. Sage's mother stepped forward. For the first time in her life, she looked her husband in the eye. I watched you bury Jesse Adler's father, she said. I kept your secrets, but I won't keep your sins. Gasps rippled through the crowd like gunfire. Mayor Calloway's jaw twitched. Lucille, think very carefully. I have, she said, for 20 years. It happened fast. One of the mayor's men raised a rifle. West shot first. Then the town erupted. Windows shattered. Horses bucked. Men shouted in the streets like demons were loose. Sage ducked behind a water trough, reloading with blood on her hands. Her father was screaming, "Arrest them! Kill them both!" But the sheriff didn't move. Neither did half the town. Because they saw it now, clear as day. West Adler wasn't the outlaw. The mayor was. And Sage? She wasn't the girl in the stained glass window anymore. She was fire. Mayor Calloway tried to flee. But Sage cornered him in the church, the very place he made her kneel and swear to God she'd obey. "You raised me to be silent," she said, voice shaking. "But I found my voice in the man you tried to bury." He looked old now.
Small.
Pathetic. "You're throwing away your legacy for a boy with a stolen name?" he rasped.
No, she said.
"I'm building a new one." She didn't shoot. She handed the gun to West. But he didn't shoot either. "Let the town judge him," West said. "Let him rot in the truth he tried to hide." Outside, the sheriff stepped forward. "Mayor Calloway," he said, drawing his badge, "you're under arrest for corruption, conspiracy, and murder." The town didn't cheer. It held its breath. Then slowly, finally, exhaled. By sundown, Dry Creek felt different. The saloon played quieter songs. People met in the streets without looking over their shoulders. Wes stood at the edge of town, staring at the horizon. Sage came up beside him, hair loose, eyes tired but free. "Now what?" she asked. He looked at her, the girl who once wore lip gloss to church and turned her back on everything for love. "Now," he said, "we build." Years later, they say Dry Creek rose from the ashes. A town built not on power, but on truth. West opened a horse ranch with his own name carved in the gate. Sage ran the schoolhouse, taught girls how to shoot straight and dream loud. They never married. They never had to. Because what they built wasn't made of rings or rules. It was made of firelight, freedom, and choosing each other every damn day. And sometimes, when the wind blows just right, the townsfolk say they can still hear her voice on the breeze. "Daddy, I loved him." And thank God she did. If you love stories that stick with you like old friends, go ahead and like, subscribe, and share to keep them coming. This is Everlore Diaries, where every story leaves its mark.